Hello, viewer. Welcome back to Full Record Jacket. Well, back if you've watched before. I mean, if you've never watched before, welcome to the world of Phil and Ben. This is where we talk about music in the way that only we know how.
Yeah,
And on
unprepared and
this
unscripted.
particular edition, we are doing the year 1996. Yeah, we've been doing this for the whole of this calendar year, every month picking a year. Well, we're going through it in chronological order. We started in 1990 in January.
We
And
did.
now, as we record this, we're in the middle of July, and we were 2 weeks late, really, in starting 1996.
We are.
So, Ben, can you remember the year 1996?
I can.
What happened?
It started just after 1995, and then it went through a period of time around 365 days, and then ended around the start of 1997. But Euro 96, that's all it was. Baddiel and Skinner, 3 lines, 1996. It was just the summer. TFI Fridays has become, it was massive. It was all about Fridays. Life was amazing. Me and you met, I think, in 1996. I'm pretty sure it was 96. So that was
I think so. Yes, it would have been. Yeah, yeah.
So that's the birth of P&B.
It's the year zero for culture. Yeah.
It was, basically, we are ground zero for, basically, before me and you, Phil, music had no meaning. Life had no meaning.
Well, it's like John Lennon said, didn't he say, before Elvis, there was nothing. And obviously before us, there was obviously far.
Yeah, Dame Judi Dench didn't know what to do with herself. As soon as me and you came on the scene, she was like, I must do Shakespeare. Even Shakespeare didn't exist until me and you came about, Philster. So we are the dawn of culture. Culture is us. So
I do remember all those things you've said. I can remember going to one or two gigs in 1996. I remember some of the records that came out. Remember records being played at, before the bands came on at the gigs. I have this sort of remembrance of some of the songs. And I also remember, some of the albums that we will talk about. But that's about, that's about all I can remember off the top of my head of 96.
Euro 96, Nebworth was 1996.
Oh, yeah, you would know that because that was Oasis at Nebworth, yeah.
What are you trying to say, Phil?
I'm trying to think, what did I go to any major well-known acts performance in 1996? I'm not sure that I did. I went to probably local gigs and things and bands that people I knew were in bands, but I can't think that I went and saw anybody well-known in 1996.
I just remember all of that period.
Did I? Yes, I did. I went to the Phoenix Festival in 96.
In Coventry?
No, in Stratford upon Avon.
Stratford upon Avon. We talked about that, didn't we?
And I saw Alanis Morissette, Beck.
Yeah.
I saw, who else did I see in 96? Beck was on the bill, and Neil Young had Crazy Horse. So and the Manic Street Preachers. Saw them as well.
So wait there, we've gone from 0 to 60 there in less than a second. You've gone from didn't see any gigs in 1996 to I saw 4 of the biggest artists of 1996.
It was one festival, but one day at one festival. But
I mean, I was just looking through the list, and I thought, oh god, this is going to be so easy. I can just choose the top 3 off top. We could do it now, and then I realised. Now I'm going to read out some. And this, you'll see as I go on where my difficulty lies. Beck, Odelay, Fugees, The Score, Tiger Milk, Belle and Sebastian, Everything Must Go, Manic Street Preachers, one of my favourite albums, New Adventures in Hi-Fi, R.E.M. Where's the rest of them? They're down here. 1 second. All Eyes on Me, Tupac Shakur, Jamiroquai, Travelling Without Moving, Beautiful Freak by Eels. What an amazing album that is. Walking Wounded, Everything But the Girl, one of my favourite albums. Coming Up Suede, Mosley Shoals, Ocean Colour Scene, Nas, It Was Written. I mean, it's just Kula Shaker. And one of my favourite albums of 1996, Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite.
I was going to say, if you'd missed that off, I was going to say, don't forget Maxwell's Urban
Hang. Yeah, I love that album. 1996. And that doesn't even get us onto things like Tribe Called Quest and all this sort of stuff. And Was Flaming Pie 96? Was that 97? That was 97, wasn't it?
It was 97. I was having this thing about that Paul McCartney album. I seem to have it in my head that it came out in 96, but of course it was 97.
97, yeah. So just by looking at them, I mean, Casanova by Divine Comedy, there were some really good albums out around then.
I'll tell you what else did come out in 96. The reason the McCartney album didn't come out till the year later was the Beatles anthology was still going on, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Anthology 2 came out in the spring, and then in the autumn they put out the third one.
Yes, they did. Yeah, but I mean, All Eyes on Me, which is up here somewhere in my 2-pack. All Eyes on Me is here in my. I know you can't see it slightly off. That's a great album.
We can't see it, so all eyes aren't on him because we can't.
They aren't on him, no, but they are because he's up here. Look, he's here. So, I thought 1996 was going to be easier than 1995, but it turns out, Philster, we have set ourselves possibly an unanswerable question.
I'll tell you some other albums that I remember being acclaimed at the time. I don't know them well. Super Furry Animals, Fuzzy Logic.
Yes. Yeah. Was that the album with the Man Don't Give Up on it?
I think so. And I've got another album in the sort of grown-up pop realm that you like from this year.
Yeah.
And that's George Michael's Older.
That is a great album. That is a brilliant album. The Bluetones, their album was out, wasn't it? Their debut album.
Slight Return by the Bluetones.
Yeah, and Shed 7, Maximum High.
The Spice Girls started.
Who's your mate here? Yeah.
It's true. They did that year.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
I can't remember what their first album was called.
Oh, do you remember the Long Pigs?
Yeah, now that wasn't Richard Hawley and the Long Pigs.
Yes. And that album came, and Ash released their debut album, didn't they? 1977 that year. Sleeper, the It Girl, was Sale of the Century and all that on it.
Yeah.
You said I was cheap. I was the Sale of the Century.
I think that was 96. It certainly was around. It was around then.
But Everything Must Go is one of my favourite albums from that time.
There's also the debut by Fiona Apple, Tidal. That was acclaimed at the time.
I remember that. Yes, I do remember that.
Spice was the Spice Girls album. Now, there's also another one that is a great one-off album that I really like. You might not expect me to like this because it's made up completely of samples. It's sort of basically instrumental hip hop. So there's no rapping on it, but it's all. And that's DJ Shadow Introducing.
Oh, yes. God, I remember that, yeah.
That's a good album. I still think it sounds good now.
Wasn't the Trainspotting album out in 96? Didn't Born Slippy Underworld... Didn't Underworld release an album in 96 with Born Slippy on it?
I think the Trainspotting soundtrack was certainly around that year. But did it come out in 95? Did it actually come out at the end of 95?
We'll have to have a check. We can't have soundtracks anyway, can we? So
we can't. But
I'll tell you what, another album which came out this year, which you'll love, Dodgy 3-Piece Suite. If it's good enough for me, it's good enough for you.
February 96.
Debut album.
The Trainspotting album was February 96.
So that was in there.
Yeah.
I mean, Suede's Coming Up album is a brilliant album. We have discussed it, haven't we? Because it was in my list of things I had bought.
Yes.
So, it's a... what was the other band out around that time? What was... they did that Erase and Rewind. Swedish. Cardigans, yeah. I'm sure they had an album out around that time, which was
probably did, yeah.
Might have to give that a listen. But Kula Shaker's K is another one of those albums that I really enjoyed and still enjoy because I went and bought it a few months ago. Do you remember Space? The female of the species is more deadly than the male.
Wasn't that called Spiders? That album?
Yes, yeah.
Did I see that they've been performing recently? They're still around.
Yes, they have. I think they have been. Yeah.
Didn't they come here locally? Weren't they going to play here locally? No, they were going to play in Northampton, not far from here. I think
at the Road Member.
I think so. I read that somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, was 1996 or was it 97 the Seahorses album?
I think that was 97.
It was, wasn't it? Skunk Anansie. Remember Skunk Anansie?
Oh yeah, they were big at that time.
Yeah. Just because you feel good.
Yeah, I must admit, I never really got into them.
No, I had that album, but it was another one of those ones that, yeah, never like you. I don't think. I think I like the singles. I think it was one of those albums where you skip to the singles.
For some reason, it never really grabbed me. I never really listened to it properly, so I can't really say. Well, I didn't get into it. Here's one to cheer you up: Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, "Murder Ballads."
Oh yeah, so that came out around the January, didn't it? Was it January, February?
Yeah, and that had his collaboration with Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue, yeah. Where the wild roses, rivers flow, or something like that.
Where the wild roses grow.
That's it. I knew I had some. I'll tell you who else I had now, Matt, in 1996, because it's in my Discogs want list, is Babybird, that Ugly Beautiful album.
Yeah.
So that came out in 96.
What was the Bluetones album called?
Expected to Fly or something like that.
Expecting to Fly, yeah.
Yeah.
Who did an album called Maximum High? A Maximum High.
Shed 7.
They did.
Yeah.
And
you got Mosley Shoals.
There was a Rage Against the Machine album. I think it must have been their second album.
Evil Empire.
I've never heard that album.
Yeah, I almost bought that album because I bought a single of Rage Against the Machine. And I almost bought the album, but mainly because I had the single, and I can't remember which single it was, but I quite liked it. But I almost bought the album, and it almost caught me out a little bit because a bit like there used to be a band. Do you remember a band called Rival Schools? I almost bought their album, and the cover and that doesn't really symbolise what's inside it. I'm sure it's called Rival Schools. I'm going to find that out. Rival Schools. Remember British Sea Power, the band British Sea Power?
I do.
Not in 1996, but
wasn't that a bit later?
Yeah. It was nowhere near 1996. Yeah, this album cover here, United by Fate by Rival Schools. It just reminded me. I don't know why. I don't know what year it came out. I think it was early 2000s. It came out in 2001, but it just reminded me of Dunlop. You could see that being on a Dunlop bag or something. So, but anyway, that's nothing to do with 1996, and I diverse us from our intended target audience.
Space and Spiders. That's a terrible album cover.
It is an awful album cover. It's not as bad as the Regret New Order one.
No,
but
many things are.
Because the Cure had that album out, didn't they? With like the clown figure thing that was broken on it.
Yeah.
Robert Smith really needs to get a haircut.
There were some weird album covers. The Cardigans' First Band on the Moon. I like the front cover of that.
Let's have a look. Oh yeah. So that's quite a cool cover. I really like the
timeless.
I'm just bringing it up here. I really do like the simplicity of that.
Yep.
I like the pastel blue. I kind of like the you can visibly see the shelf that the pictures are sat on. I really do like that as an album cover. I mean, the Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds album cover is a bad album cover as well. Maximum High's a good album cover, I remember rightly. That's the one with the Skittles, isn't it? Is it playing 10-pin bowling?
What about the Beck album? How about a dog that looks like an absorbent mop? Jumping over a hurdle. I mean, you can't beat that, can you?
Is that the one with? Is it Devil's Haircut on that one?
On there, yeah.
So it's a. There is some really good albums from 1996. I could almost choose, and I can't almost choose the top 3. I'm going to have to go back and listen to some of these albums to see if they've aged as well as my youthful memories tell me.
Pinkerton by Weezer.
Yes, Yeah.
I'm thinking, is that the peak year of the 90s, 1996?
1996. I think it's where the movement of Britpop, I think it had been...
Because most of those albums we just talked about are not what you would classify Britpop, but there's a lot of good albums.
But I think that's sort of where music became... It was around the time where music and football were sort of becoming the cultural focal point. And I think because of 95 with Blur and Oasis and those sort of bands pushing it through, I think 96, that's the time when you sort of got all these like Bluetones, Super Furry Animals, all these bands started coming.
There was a lot going on in the British music scene, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It felt like we were living through almost like a mini 60s.
Yes, yeah. Every other day there's another band appearing for us to listen to.
That's how it felt in sort of 95, 96.
Yeah,
and 97 seemed to be the peak, and it started to sort of drop off after that.
Yeah.
I would have said that, the very early years of the 90s could also be said to be a peak with some of the indie stuff that was going on then.
Yeah. But it was a bit more underground, wasn't it? Then
that was more underground. It's either the very early 90s or this period. I think
this period for me, because I was 17 in 96, so this was my formative sort of. And culture was beginning to change. The political, I've said it before, like, the political landscape was beginning to change. Music was becoming more about people that looked like me doing it, if you know what I mean. It wasn't sort of, Adamant and people, it was...
Well, that's how American musicians felt in the 60s when they first saw the Beatles. They thought they were all their working class, they're ordinary. They don't look like film stars. Maybe I could do it.
Yeah.
I didn't realise you thought you could do it, but there you go.
I could have given it a go. I would have made a brilliant front man. I mean, look at me. I've got a face like a oil painting that's melted. But I could have been that. I could have been that guy, Phil. I just had no musical talent whatsoever. But I write a good lyric every now and again. So, but no, I for me, that 95, 96 period, probably more than 96 period. Because 95, I was still at school the early part. Latter part of 95, I had glandular fever, which was horrible. And then 96, because the summer of 95 is what I remember a lot musically, because you had All Right, Supergrass, obviously the Blur Oasis thing, and then you had Edwyn Collins' Girl Like You from around that time. But 96, because I had a job and stuff, I was beginning to buy more stuff. I was going to college, and there was a lad at college called Fruke, and he got me into the Fugees. So I bought the first Fugees album before The Score, and then that sort of got me into... Because my brother always quite liked hip-hop before I did. But that sort of connection sort of brought me into hip-hop and sort of opened that sort of door for me. So 96, really more than 95, was my sort of breaking of the cherry, as it, so to speak, of discovering music. And I suppose, like being back in the 60s, this new, you just got it coming all at you all at once, of just, it's like being a kid in a free sweet shop almost. So, so 96, I'm going to agree with you. 96 was brilliant. And 97 was great because you had the expectation of Be Here Now coming out. And that for me was like, 96, I was buying all the back catalogue of Oasis. I was buying all the singles, ordering imports, all that sort of stuff. And then, I mean, if you think about it now, bands go 4, 5, 10 years between releasing albums. I thought the time between October 1995 and August 1997 was a lifetime. And now I realise it bloody wasn't.
It wasn't. It was a very quick
period of time, and that summer of 1996, I mean, Three Lions, all that sort of stuff. I think that really encapsulated the mood And I think that's where you started seeing things change, not just musically, but politically as well. I think that's, yeah. So I'm going to agree with you, Phil. 1996 is the point it really gained momentum. Oasis and Blur and Suede, the bands that come sort of the had pushed everything up the hill, and now it was time to let it go and have a good time.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy for me.
So that's it. That is what we think so far of 1996. We've just got to listen to all these records now.
I'm going to enjoy it. This is my time, Phil. I'm going to embrace it again. It's going to be like being 17 for a second time.
It's going to be fun. We'll do this in a couple of weeks. We will find what our 3 personal favourite albums are of 96. So join us for that. In the meantime, if you've missed the previous years, you can catch up by looking through all the videos on our channel. Good luck with that. Thanks for watching. All the best.